Welcome to Bloomers in the Garden. I'm Len Schroeder, and on today's show, we're going to be step-by-step on how to plant a vegetable garden. We're going to talk about soil and basically from the ground up, where your soil needs to be and what you need to do to make it good. Our third segment, we're going to talk about how to feed baby vegetable plants. Fourth segment, we're going to explain how vegetables should be planted, seed or plants. Finally, we're going to discuss common insects and how to control them during our final segment. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in the vegetable garden right after these messages.
Bloomers in the Garden is brought to you each week by Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Bloomers is an award-winning garden center just 20 minutes from Philadelphia. Bloomers has been providing expert advice turning brown thumbs green for over 30 years. At Bloomers, we want you to ask us every question, even if you think it's silly. We share information in a friendly, non-judgmental way that is meant to teach and spread the joy of gardening. Visit Bloomers Home and Garden Center in Washington Township, Gloucester County. For directions, go to bloomers.com, and we'll see you in the garden. Fertilome's Triple Action contains 70% neem oil and 0.25% pyrethrins as a concentrate and ready to spray. It is an insecticide, fungicide, and miticide labeled to use on vegetables, fruits, nuts, herbs, spices, and ornamentals. This organic OMRI-listed product controls a wide variety of insect pests and diseases, including aphids, scale, spider mites, whiteflies, rust, leaf spot, and powdery mildew. This insecticide is an all-in-one bottle that will cure just about any problem you may run into throughout the year. Fertilome's Triple Action has been helping gardeners across the country for years. Best to apply in late evening and early morning hours. Mix 1 ounce, which is equivalent to 2 tablespoons in a gallon of water. The best part is Triple Action may be used up to the day of harvest. So the next time you are visiting your favorite garden center, ask for Fertilome's Triple Action and expect to have the best-looking plants in the neighborhood.
You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or see and hear us by subscribing to Bloomers YouTube channel. Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley every Saturday. First, wake up with us at 6 a.m. on WNWR The Word at 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. Tune in at 8 a.m. to Bloomers in the Garden Radio on Talk 860 WWDB. A rebroadcast of Bloomers in the Garden Radio is played each Saturday evening at 5 p.m. on The Word, 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard throughout the New York Tri-State Area on Classic Oldies, 1250 AM WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. So, any vegetable garden starts with good soil preparation. It's all about the soil, folks. If you've got crummy soil, you need to improve it. And it's surprisingly easy, where good soil is made up of sand, clay, and organic matter. Now, the proportions could be different. Like if you have clay, obviously you have more clay. Most of the solution, though, whether it's sand or clay, is adding organic matter. And bumper crop is a soil additive that will improve your soil even if you have perfect soil, because it has so much in it. Now, let me explain. It has composted lobster shell, composted barnyard manure. Now, what the heck is barnyard manure? Cow manure, but also chicken manure. Chicken manure is higher in nitrogen, so it keeps things greener. Like if you're looking for an organic fertilizer that generally it shows like its first number on the bag is a little bit higher on organic, it means it has chicken manure in it. And that will act as a replacement for a chemical version of nitrogen. It also has earthworm castings, kelp meal, peat, H bark. But the key is it's inoculated with endo and ecto mycorrhizal fungi, which improves the root function. Everything your plants need into one bag, and that's called bumper crop. Now, don't just put it in. You will be amazed on the difference of your yield, the quality of your plants, because insects and such and disease, like they go to the plants that are hurting. So if you've got plants under stress because they're not growing well, that you're going to get insects and disease. Now, how deep do you turn over the soil? You know, some people think like 4 inches enough. Like it's like, oh, just the size of the root. No. You want to go 8 to 12 inches deep and turn over that soil, loosen that soil. And then when you add bumper crop, a 2 cubic foot bag will cover 10 square foot because you're going to put like a 2 to 3 inch layer of bumper crop, and then you're going to turn it into your soil and mix it real good. Now, again, you want that loose. You want loose soil because compacted soil allows weeds to grow, not to mention other things. Bumper crop has an OMRI listing. Now, if you're looking on YouTube, which I suggest you go ahead and check out our YouTube channel, we have OMRI listed insecticides. For instance, and I'm pointing at them right here, there are VPG Fertilome products, which are all organic. So what's the big deal about that? They meet the organic production standards of the Organic Material Review Institute, OMRI. Okay, and that this is a nonprofit international organization, and it determines what products are truly organic. Because there are some products, like there used to be as fertilizer, lawn fertilizer that we sold that had organic in the name, but the nitrogen was not organic. Now, technically, it was a really good product, but it couldn't say it was organic because it wasn't. Some of the other ingredients were, but because it had that inorganic nitrogen, it didn't qualify. So it truly wasn't organic. And that's what OMRI does. OMRI makes sure that the ones that get their indicia, the endorsement from their organization are truly organic. Again, we have bumper crop and all of the Fertilome products that you see, which is by company VPG, and that they are OMRI listed. So what about fertilizer? After you put the bumper crop and you turn over your bumper crop, what I want you to do is another organic product by Espoma, and that's called Garden Tone. You're going to take 3/4 pound of Espoma Garden Tone for every 10 square foot of your garden. So if your garden is 100 square foot, 10 by 10, okay, you're going to use 7.5 pounds over that area. So fortunately, it comes in 8-pound bags. So pretty much you're going to use that bag over that 100 square foot. It also comes in larger bags where you'll get an 18-pound as well, and it also comes in, and I think, a 40-pound bag. Now, also organic. And guess what? It also contains the mycorrhiza that we talked about earlier. So what does mycorrhiza do? And again, I'm going to use our plants that we have here, and this is a basil plant that I'm pulling out. If you look at the root hairs on a basil plant, and it doesn't matter. It could be grass. It could be a tree. It could be a perennial. It could be a flower. It doesn't really matter. Somehow, the nutrients that are sitting in the soil have to get through to the plant. And that it was discovered that mycorrhiza and that the fungi that attaches itself to the root hairs is what transforms that into the plant. Now, I'm sorry, I'm very visual. Think of it as mouth parts chewing the soil and swallowing it and getting it into the plant, because that's basically what it's doing. It's the way that your plant gets its nutrient value from the soil. A lot of times that if that's not present, we have had incidents where people are over mulching, let's say, And a lot of that bacteria will rise to the surface, and they'll have, let's just use azaleas, for instance. If this is you, I'm curious, call the hotline. I'd like to know, are you having this issue where your azaleas are always on the yellow side? They never, no matter if you give them Hollytone or liquid fertilizer or whatever, it doesn't seem like they ever get to be green. You may have this problem where the bacteria, rather than staying around the root zone of the plant, it's up rotting the mulch or the organic matter at the top rather than staying in the soil. And your azaleas are not getting any nutrient from the soil. So no matter how much you keep throwing fertilizer on it, it doesn't seem to work. So keep that in mind, that the root hairs all have attached to it is the mycorrhiza, and that is what makes the nutrients able to be absorbed from the soil. Very important. And that's why it's in bumper crop, and that is why it's in the majority. If you see the Espoma tone line, it's Hollytone, Rosetone, Berrytone. Everyone has that mycorrhiza. And Biotone is fairly new. It's been out. I'm getting old, so it seems like it's new. But what happens is that has it exclusively in it, and it's a starter fertilizer. Think of it as a starter fertilizer for plants. But it all is contained in the whole tone line, and there are a lot of them. Tomato tone, garden tone, Hollytone, Berrytone, Rosetone, blah, 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 blah. All the tones from Espoma. That's the fertilizer to use. Plant tone, best generic fertilizer you can get, because it can work for perennials, it can work for your annuals and your vegetable garden. But I prefer you to use the garden tone. It's a little bit different for vegetables, but you could get away with using plant tone. So if you're going to pick one, that would be it. Plant tone. So we have our soil turned over, and then we just broadcast our bag of garden tone. Remember, 7.5 pounds per 100 square feet. What do you do now? I want you to turn it over again, because I want this. I hate it when our customers say, "Oh, I put a handful in this hole when I plant it." It's like, no. You, with a garden, you want to mix this into the soil, so it's in the soil at the root zone. You don't want to do it the way that where you put it in the hole, and then when you water it, it actually goes below where the roots are, so it really doesn't work. So I want you to go and mix it in with that soil where you're going to plant it. Now, why? Why do I do that? Well, it's because you want fertilizer at the root zone, but you're also going to take some later on. We're going to talk about planting your garden, and you're going to use it again. So listen to our segment coming up. It's going to be all about how you plant, and it's going to involve another application of Garden Tune. So stay tuned. We'll be right back into it about your vegetable garden right after these messages. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. We are proud to announce that Bloomers in the Garden has partnered with Renewal by Andersen of Greater Philadelphia, Delaware, South Jersey, and Southern Maryland. Renewal by Andersen is the top window and door company in the United States, specializing in replacement windows and doors. You might be thinking right now, what the heck do windows have to do with gardening? Well, Renewal by Andersen makes this beautiful garden bay window that's energy efficient and made from recycled materials. It's perfect for growing the finest indoor plants possible. When you are looking out your windows filled with plants in your beautiful garden, you don't want to see old windows that are cloudy, warped, or even rotting. That's why people in the horticulture community love Renewal by Andersen. Not only do we want our gardens to be beautiful, but their homes as well. Renewal by Andersen participates in horticultural events such as flower shows, earth days, and eco fairs. To get more information and set up a free home consultation, please visit www.philadelphiawindow.com and be sure to tell them Bloomers in the Garden sent you.
Is she gone?
Nope, she's still standing there.
What is she doing?
I think she's watching the grass grow.
That's our job.
I know, right? She's watching the grass grow, the flowers grow. Ooh, look, the trees are growing.
Can't say as I blame her. Remember where she bought all this stuff?
Duh, bought us there too.
Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Find us online at bloomers.com.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. We are in the vegetable garden today. So there are certain ways to plant certain vegetables. And we're going to start with tomatoes, the most popular vegetable, certainly most vegetable plant that we sell. Now, I want you to go take in the Wayback Machine, and that when I was a kid, the way that we sold tomato plants were actually out of a cold frame. Now, a cold frame, think of two pieces of wood, about 4 foot across and about 50 foot long, and we would put window sash over top of it, and this was specifically made for this purpose, and we would grow them so that the plants you would get, we would dig them out bare root, and you'd get tomato plants that were already a foot tall. Sometimes when it got late in the season, they were 18 inches tall. And so the one thing when you get big plants, and when you get little plants, and that I, again, am holding up a tomato plant for our YouTube viewers to see. Again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, please ring that bell and give us a thumbs up. I'm taking off enough leaves so that I'm at the second to third set of leaves. Now, this is a small plant, and this is going to be a healthy transplant. But you can plant tomatoes deep. I usually never tell you to plant anything deep, but with tomatoes, you can plant them up until, let's see, it's probably the third set of leaves that are from the top to the bottom, and that stem will form roots. Sometimes if you're getting tomato plants later in the season, you'll notice that there are all these like little white bumps that are along the stem. Those are roots that are dying to get out and grow. So when you do plant them, you want to make sure that you plant them so that they are in the row, not across the row. And the reason is that you don't want to say you need to hoe your garden and you've got some weeds, but then all of a sudden you hoe and you cut off the root of your tomato because you didn't realize it. So again, you want to have it straight in the row, not so that it goes across your row, and that way you'll be safe. Tomatoes are pretty easy to grow. The problem with tomatoes is there are two different types, and we're going to talk about what to stake in a little bit, but it's the fact that there's determinate, which are, think of that as the bush type, the ones that only get to a certain size and stay pretty small and compact. And then there's the indeterminate, and those are the ones that you see, stuff online or where they have 8-foot stakes and they're holding up their tomatoes. They can sprawl along the ground, but we're going to talk about that in a segment coming up. All right, how about squash and cucumbers? Again, it's the 3rd of May. It's the beginning of May. It's early. You're not going to lose the race. You really aren't. The soil temperatures are still cool. because at night we're still getting, temperatures that are cool. This week coming up, I noticed the temperatures, instead of being 80 like it's been this past week, that they're going to be closer to the 60s, which is more normal, and that the soil temperatures are still going to be low. Squash and cucumbers, and they like to be mounded on like a little bit of a berm, where cucumbers will sprawl, they'll climb, so you can put them on a trellis. But the fact that they are on a berm is for a reason. One, you also, let me just interject here, besides plants, you can also plant them by seed. The only problem I see with seed is that all of a sudden you've got all these seeds and these seedlings, and you end up having it so that, oh my gosh, it's like I have to eat all these burpless cucumbers that I got from seed, and now all I have are burpless cucumbers. When you get plants, you can get, like, say, 4 plants. You can get 1 plant. Like, I got a Japanese type of cucumber that was like a cucumber and melon cross. I wasn't a fan, but it's for somebody. But it's that weird stuff. Like, there are white cucumbers, and there are all different types of cucumbers that if you go and you get seed, you're kind of stuck. You have like one monoculture. It's like, oh, here we go, slicing cucumbers again. When you buy plants, you can get different things. Same thing with squash. If you go and you just buy a pack of zucchini seeds, yeah, they'll grow great. But then you have just zucchini as opposed to spaghetti squash or some of the other summer squashes and patty pan squash and all the different ones. Because you're buying plants, you can buy a couple of plants rather than buying a packet full of seeds, which could be as many as 25, 30, maybe even more of the same plant. So, yes, they do well from seed, but I still encourage you to buy plants because it's just a lot more fun. And again, they're plants, not puppies, right? Plants, not puppies. You don't have to plant all of your seeds. So, again, it's fun. It's definitely a great kids thing to start squash and cucumbers, and I'll throw in a couple that we're going to get to in a second, beans and corn, that will grow really well from seed. All right. The next thing are bush beans. Absolutely the simplest thing to grow in the garden, and this is one I almost feel guilty. Now, again, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, please subscribe. Right here are bush beans. A pack is $2.99. This is an absolute waste of money. Plant your beans from seed. People want them, and that's why we sell them. And it's one of those things where it comes up in a week. And you can have succession planting if you're using seed. So you go ahead and like every 2 weeks, you're planting a bush bean seeds so that you have a harvest all summer long. It is so easy. It's not, you'll be amazed. Super easy. Just make sure the seeds go in, usually it's twice the depth of the seed itself, laying end to end. It is just simple. Corn is another one. Oh my gosh. Corn, like if you look at the corn pack, because again, people ask for it. Do you have corn? It's like, well, you do, but it's so easy to plant because it's basically a type of grass. Now you see all of these, like for instance, one of these has to come out because it's too close. You can't plant it in a clump. And also, if you pull out one of these, now I'm going to try to do this without damaging too much. And again, you can see this on our YouTube channel. Aaron, can you get a close of this pink thing? Can you see that right there? Well, the thing that I'm pointing at right there, that's the seed. That's a corn seed. So it was just planted in the pack. So it wasn't something that was like fancy dancy. It wasn't like a cutting or anything like that that's hard, or it's not a tiny seed. You can see how big it is. You can plant corn by seed directly into the garden. But there are a couple things to consider. First of all, that they're going to get big. I mean, they're going to get 6 feet tall, corn as high as an elephant eye. Go ahead, Aaron. You know what that's from?
Nope.
Oklahoma.
Oh, buddy.
Where the wind comes sweeping down the plain? Oh, yeah, I know. Fine. I'm old. But the thing is that if this is growing 6 to 8 feet tall and you have something underneath it, all of a sudden it's shaded. So now you got a problem. If you do some inner space planting, like for instance, if you had climbing peas or even climbing beans that you put on the corn so that you were getting corn, but you're also getting the beans or the beans or the peas that were climbing up the corn, that's something you could do. But you've got to plant the corn first and get that to a decent size before you start planting the peas or the beans. Because again, beans, how fast do they germinate? A week. All right. Now, let's see. Last but not least, peppers and eggplant. Buy the plants. Because, again, you get the variety that you're looking for. So, I mean, Ichabod eggplant are the hottest eggplant going. Finger-like eggplant. I am amazed that we sell more of that variety than we do of the regular traditional eggplant, the kind of eggplant that you make eggplant parmesan out of. This is a narrow, thin growing. We have white eggplant. There are like a dozen different types. There's a Hansel, so there must be a Gretel eggplant. There's striped eggplant. There's all of these different varieties that you'll miss out on if you're growing from seed. And the same thing, again, with peppers. I just can't keep track of all the different peppers. It's gone with peppers where there's bell type. There's the hot peppers. There's a gazillion. And that we talked about the Scoville scale last week about how hot they are, where a bell pepper is 0 and a ghost pepper or Carolina Reaper is like 2 million on the Scoville scale, which why you eat it. I don't. The other day, pizza, right? Really hot. Ate it. Ripped the roof of my mouth right off. Carolina Reaper. I swear. I mean, I'm not eating that. But what's the show Chopped? They had to use Carolina Reaper peppers in their basket the other day. And that they were real, like, had on gloves, had chopped just a little bit. Ooh. Anyway.
I thought you were going to say, first we feast. The hot wings. The hot wings challenge.
Don't touch your face.
Right.
Anyway.
Where's the milk?
There are so many different peppers, and it's fun because you can go and it's like a tasting contest, and there's so much you can do with it. From the giant bells, there's a Keystone variety. There's a great big bell pepper that you can do for stuffed peppers. There's different, like long hots, right? They want long hots. Give me the long hots. And those are just basically red Italian stuffing peppers. There's banana peppers. There's Cubanelles, which are frying peppers. Peppers. How many Peter picked a pipe of peppers? And there's a lot. So save those for plants and buy them at your local garden center. And it's more fun that way, again, because when you're buying a ton of seed, you get the seed to germinate, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm getting sick of bell peppers, honey. So anyway, all right. And we're going to be back. We're going to talk about, all right, so what needs to be staked? If I've got these indeterminate varieties of tomatoes, how am I going to stake them? We're going to answer that in our next segment. So we'll be right back right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden.
Fertilome's Triple Action contains 70% neem oil and 0.25% pyrethrins as a concentrate and ready to spray. It is an insecticide, fungicide, and miticide labeled to use on vegetables, fruits, nuts, herbs, spices, and ornamentals. This organic OMRI-listed product controls a wide variety of insect pests and diseases, including aphids, scale, spider mites, whiteflies, rust, leaf spot, and powdery mildew. This insecticide is an all-in-one bottle that will cure just about any problem you may run into throughout the year. Fertilome's Triple Action has been helping gardeners across the country for years. Best to apply in late evening and early morning hours. Mix 1 ounce, which is equivalent to 2 tablespoons in a gallon of water. The best part is Triple Action may be used up to the day of harvest. So the next time you are visiting your favorite garden center, ask for Fertilome's Triple Action and expect to have the best-looking plants in the neighborhood.
If you're looking for a specific potting soil for your house plants rather than just a generic professional potting soil that sometimes, let's just say, it can be a little soggy, the Cape Netic Blend Organic and Natural Indoor Houseplant Mix from Coast of Maine is what you're looking for. It's specially formulated for indoor houseplants and flowers using a coarse coconut core, that's important, perlite, and aged bark to optimize drainage and aeration for robust root development. The coconut core is what true gardeners and professionals are looking to replace some of the peat moss that are in most potting soil blends. It adds a little more air around the root system without having it dry out. The peat sometimes gets a little wet. Do you have any fungus gnats flying around? That happens too. So if you've got the coconut core in your mix, it's something that's going to be better certainly for indoor houseplants. So whether you're growing peace lilies, spider plants, philodendrons, monsteras, or other popular or exotic houseplants, this unique compost-free blend provides the optimum structure and benefits for nurturing strong, beautiful indoor plants. And again, that's the Cape Netic Blend Indoor Houseplant Mix by Coast of Maine. Look for it at your local garden center. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. We are in the vegetable garden today, so planting my vegetables and planting my garden, what am I going to have to stake? Oof, well, tomatoes for one, indeterminate varieties of tomatoes, which are most, grow and produce fruit until frost. So that means they can get big, big as much as 8 feet long. How do I stake those? What do I do? There's tomato cages, but do not buy the crummy, look, they're $1.99, and that they basically, the tomatoes plant outweighs it and crushes it, and it really doesn't do much. There's as a retailer, there's 33-inch tomato cages for $3. It's ridiculous pricing, but it's just, you get what you pay for. We also had Texas tomato cages, and I don't even know if we can get them anymore, but they were really heavy-duty welded tomato cages that were $50 a piece, but they withstood the weight of the tomato plants, and they actually were probably 6 foot tall, so that they would grow up, and you'd be picking as things were growing, and then the tomato plants would cascade back down on the outside of the cage, and you were able to work that way. So that's the only tomato cages. Don't waste your money buying junk, because you'll have to replace them every year. It becomes a nightmare because they fold like a cheap hanger underneath the weight of the tomato plants. You can stake your tomatoes, but remember, we're talking about 8 foot tall. You're going to need a ladder, and that it's going to look ridiculous because you're going to have these little plants that are about 6 inches tall and then this giant stake, but you're going to need it. You're going to need it. You can wait till it starts to cascade over, or you can allow them to just sprawl along the ground. But if you don't have the room, you can't do that. Another thing is, think of a series of clotheslines where your tomato plants are, say, in the background or somewhere where that you can take a clothesline effect and have a series of posts where you weave the tomato plants as they grow through a series of, whether it's very tight cord or something that where it can grow along that network of rope. You could also work out and use a network of pipes or wood, and that where it will grow onto that and you'll weave it. Remember, it doesn't sucker on and grow onto it the way, say, ivy would or something like that. You have to actually support it and tie it. Never use like a thin cord, wire, or anything like that, because what will happen is as the wind blows, it will cut into it and will kill your tomato plants. You want something very soft. Best thing is to use, you ready? It's unfortunately Julio's not here, Harold, because I used to be able to tease him by buying panty. He'd have to use Judy's. Julio, you listen? You're using Judy's pantyhose to hold up those tomato plants because it's flexible and that it will give a little bit and that it's not going to girdle those tomato plants. So it's the perfect thing. It's inexpensive. It sounds crazy, but I tell you what, once you use it once, you'll use it every year. And that is by using pantyhose because it has a wider surface area to hold onto that stem as opposed to doing something like, God forbid, wire or a small cord, because that will kill the plant. Now, tomatoes aren't the only things that necessarily need to be staked. Staked or let's say trellised. And there are things like cucumbers, melons, pumpkins. Oof. Pumpkins are just too heavy. I think pumpkins should sprawl along the ground, but that's just me. Squash generally does not climb, depending on what variety. Usually, like a zucchini is going to be, the fruit will be in the center. It doesn't climb like some other varieties of squash may. Beans, peas, all of those will climb, and that it's always good. Make sure you don't use pine. If you're using wood, you don't want to use pine. It rots, doesn't last. You want to use hardwood. And again, there are trellises that you can buy, but make sure that you're using something that is like again, it has to be hardwood and it has to make sense. Don't buy something cheap because you're not going to be successful. You're not going to have fun, and it's going to be something that you wish you never did. So buy good trellises, good hardwood stakes. Make it, well thought out, good tomato cages. Now, plants like peppers and eggplant, they're self-supporting. You don't really need to do anything with them. Then there's also, let's see, that like all of the herbs for the most part that they are not sprawling, like thyme, it will sprawl a little bit, but basil and certainly the rosemary, things like that you should have in your garden, that those don't need to be staked. Corn does not need to be staked. So again, it's important to make sure that they're supported, especially the tomatoes, because they will take up a lot of room if you allow them to sprawl. But if you got the room, it's the easiest way. So if you got any questions about how to stake or support your vegetables or whether you're planting something that even needs it, call that hotline. That's 609-685-1880. Call us with any of your questions, and we'll answer them. We'll be back in the garden right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. Here's the dirt on potting mixes. They're not all created equal. Espoma Organic Potting Mix gives roots the ideal balance of air and moisture. It contains a special blend of beneficial mycorrhiza to help grow stronger roots, bigger plants, and more bountiful blooms. Try Espoma Organic Potting Mix indoors and out for all your potted flowers, vegetables, and you'll see why it's the best. Visit espoma.com for a retailer near you. Organic potting mix from Espoma, a natural in the garden since 1929.
If you're like me, then you absolutely love birds. The Bird Sanctuary at Bloomers Home and Garden Center has you covered. They're dedicated to the care and feeding of wild birds of all sorts. Want to bring more birds to your yard? Then you got to see this place. Bloomers has a huge flock of feeders, birdhouses, birdseed, and much, much more. Want to feed the birds and not the squirrels? They have this absolutely cool bronze bird feeder that will drive those sneaky squirrels nuts. They'll be moving to the next door neighbor in no time. OMG. Bloomers have these absolutely adorable birdhouses that will turn your yard into the perfect bird B&B. They carry all types of wild bird seed, suet, seed cakes, and mealworms. Bloomer stocks, Lyric, Coles, CNS, Pine Tree Farms, and much, much more that will keep those beautiful birds coming back for more. Bloomers Home and Garden Center is located in Washington Township in Gloucester County. For more information and directions, check them out on the web at bloomers.com. Bloomers Home and Garden Center, you got to see this place.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. So, you are planting your seedlings. They're in the ground. And that you prepared your soil using bumper crop and mixing that and garden tone into your soil. Now what? You're going to feed again, and this time you're going to feed each plant. You're going to do a small circle of garden tone around each plant, but make sure you're keeping that fertilizer away, about 2 inches away from the stem. It's only a little bit, but it's going to help that seedling to grow into an adult plant, keep it healthy, and have it growing. You'll be amazed if you haven't done this before that you want to keep it, again, away from the stem, but you'll be amazed on how fast it grows, and all of a sudden it takes off. Now, if you've planted seeds in the ground, please wait until 10 days or so after it's been up, and then you go ahead and do the same thing. And it's a side dressing of fertilizer. And again, you're using organic garden tone, Espoma Organic Garden Tone. And that will be the best fertilizer you can use. Now, there's something else. Water-soluble fertilizer. What the heck is that? Most people know Miracle-Gro. I'm not a fan. It's a little bit too high in nitrogen, and it forces the plant to grow leaves as opposed to some of the other benefits that we're looking for, where we want it to have better root system. We want it to have to produce more fruit. And so you want to look for a water soluble that you mix with water that will actually produce the fruit. And when I say fruit, I mean vegetables, and tomato is a fruit. I'm not getting in an argument with anybody about whether it's a fruit or a vegetable. It's technically a fruit. But you want to use a water soluble, so where it turns that water blue. And I particularly endorse the variety of classic Jacks. Okay. And I guess I have to go into it. Jack Peters, and Peters was the one that all the professionals used as far as a water-soluble fertilizer. Miracle-Gro came and said, we want to be the exclusive, so we're going to buy you out. The statutes of limitations ran out, so guess who's back? Jack Peters. And that you can buy that now as Jack's Classic. And that's what you want. It's probably, there's a 20-20-20, then there's one directly for like hanging baskets and the petunia feed. Look for and ask for Jack's Classic and as a water-soluble liquid fertilizer, okay? And you want to use that every 2 weeks. Think of it this way. You have your granular fertilizer of Espoma Garden Tone. That's like your 4 square meals a day or 3 square, well, that's not my case, 3 square meals a day. And that when you hit it with the water soluble, that's like by getting that multivitamin in. And that's by getting another shot. So you want to do that every couple of weeks. And you will have a garden like no other. Green, lush, producing. If you're starving it between feedings by not doing the liquid fertilizer, you need to do that every 2 weeks. And your garden will be fantastic. We'll be right back right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden.
Dreaming of a gorgeous garden? Give your azaleas, rhododendron, blueberries, and evergreens a powerful boost with the #1 acid-loving plant food, Espoma Organic Hollytone. Hollytone is a perfect blend of natural, long-lasting ingredients that nourish plants for stronger roots, faster growth, and bountiful blooms. Plus, it's easy to use and safe for people, pets, and planet. Visit Espoma.com for a retailer near you and helpful gardening tips. Espoma, a natural in the garden since 1929.
Your next houseplant is waiting for you in Bloomers Home and Garden Center's greenhouse. Bloomers recognizes that houseplant choices are as important to your interior decorating as the fabric on your couch. The right plant, paired with the perfect container, can bring a dynamic change to your home. A houseplant brings life to your world and connects your home's interior to the greater outdoors. Even a small succulent placed on your coffee table has a way of connecting your living room to the Amazon rainforest. How about an air plant in your kitchen? Looking for an indoor flowering plant to add color to your plant palette? Bloomers has a large revolving assortment of flowering beauties. From aglaonemas to ZZ plants, Bloomers Greenhouse is stocked with your next favorite indoor plant. Bloomers carries a large selection of pottery and containers to match your home's decor and make any of your plants more beautiful. Bloomers experts can help you care for your plants and have the fertilizer, insecticides, leaf shine, and specialty soils you need to grow healthy and happy indoor plants. Visit Bloomers Home and Garden Center's greenhouse and make every room in your home a living room. Visit bloomers.com for more information. That's bloomers.com, and we'll see you in the garden. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. So, you're planting a vegetable garden. Expect this. You will get insects. You will get weeds, and you will get diseases. I'm not saying absolutely the first day, but at some point, a little rain must fall. And that, again, insects. Here's a couple to look out for. Squash vine borer. Squash vine borer is an insect that you can tell, squash vine borer. So what it does is it lays its eggs at the base of your squash plant stem, and the eggs hatch, and like they'll tunnel into your squash, and all of a sudden your squash will collapse. And it's like, what the heck is going on? I don't even see an insect. And that's because it's inside that stem. You need to control the adult before it gets a chance to lay the eggs. So what do? It's pretty easy because you can go with a organic. So let's do a rundown here. So when the cucumbers begin to flower, or your squash begin to flower, red and black moths lay shiny mahogany brown eggs usually on the stems near the plant space. And these little caterpillars hatch in about a week or two, and they bore into the stems and feed for about a month, and then they pupate into the soil. And there are 2 generations per year. And again, it will overwinter in the ground. So if you have them last year, you're going to have them this year because they're still in the ground. And they, guess what? They found a home. You can put chemical sprays on them. Like, for instance, any of the thrins labeled for vegetables, pyrethrin, for instance, permethrin, those are labeled for vegetables. You can use those and that it will control it, but you can't like kind of skimp. My favorite would be actually spinosad. If there was one vegetable insect control that I would choose, it would be spinosad. 1, it's organic. 2, it has a broad spectrum label, kills so many different things because there aren't insects that are resistant to it the way that other control products are. Let's put it that way. You know, it's you don't want all your hard work when you're ready to go and start to harvest, or you're starting to get your plants, all of a sudden do this stem collapse and you're left with nothing. So please go ahead, and when it starts to flower, go ahead and do an organic spray of spinosad every couple of weeks, okay? And you're trying to get it towards the center or where the flowers are, and you will be very, very happy. My particular dreaded, because on the farm, we didn't spray a lot, and I had to go out and pick Colorado potato beetles off of the tomato plants and put them in a coffee tin full of kerosene. I hate tomatoes to this day. I don't like tomatoes, but yet sun-dried tomatoes, ketchup, tomato sauce, I'll eat that. But give me a raw tomato? No, not me. So Colorado potato beetle, they're actually kind of pretty. They're a beetle, and that on its back, on like where the wings are, that it's a tan beetle with black stripes. And the small ones, like when it lays eggs, like you'll see like all of these usually orange egg masses underneath the leaf of tomato plants. And oh my gosh, when they hatch, they turn into these like gummy beetles. They're this pinkish color with black dots on them, and they will devour your tomato plant overnight, make it a skeleton. And you'll see it mostly on tomatoes, but also you're going to see them on eggplant as well. Again, spinosad. Spinosad works, 8 works, and that you want to use it, and that whenever you see them, start spraying. And that you want to make sure you're getting under the leaves too, because that's where they're going to lay their eggs. And you don't want to get an infestation of Colorado potato beetle. They're awful. Cabbage loopers, people think I'm crazy when I go after those cute little white butterflies flying around and I try to crush them. They are the worst. Cabbage loopers are not our friend. They aren't pretty moths. They aren't pollinators.
We have to apologize to the kids at Bloomers when they see us going after them and they start crying.
Mommy, look at that, man. He's killing those butterflies.
Yeah, they're not butterflies. Sorry, kids.
What they do is that they will lay eggs onto, obviously, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, all of these specific types of cole plants, and they will absolutely devour it. I mean, they go from tiny little caterpillars to these big, monstrous, fat caterpillars almost overnight. And that they can be controlled by BT. It's another organic product, but also spinosad also will work. You got to spray in order to keep them out. The one thing that they do also is they do spread a virus. So that's a virus that gets into the plant, can kill the plant. So it's like a disease that isn't necessarily curable. So again, spinosad, if I was going to get one, it would be spinosad. Then as far as disease goes, powdery mildew. Powdery mildew can be a problem. And that people think it's because it's real humid. It's like, no, it actually happens when it's dry, and that it can be controlled pretty easily. Most copper fungicide, mancozeb, neem oil as a preventative revitalizes a bio fungicide, so it's organic. I like that one. Revitalize from bonide. That's the fungicide that I would get for almost all of my issues. Just be ready. It's going to happen. It's okay. Does organic mean it's okay? You can spray organic insecticides? I'm telling you, yes, you can. But again, there are some purists that don't want to spray anything. So you eat the ugly fruit. If you've got questions about insects and how to control them, please call the hotline at 609-685-20. No, it isn't either. 609. Aaron's looking at me, shaking his head. 609-685-1880. We'll be back in the garden right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Planting a vegetable garden is fun. It's great for kids. You want to know where your fruit and your vegetables come from your backyard is going to be the healthiest. You never know what you're getting in the grocery store. I always look, and it's like, from Peru. Like, well, what are their rules? Can they spray anything on it? I don't know. So I'd rather plant my own, harvest my own. And again, you're not going to take your whole pantry and put it out in your garden, but at least you'll have some of the major crops like tomatoes. And probably the funnest thing is using your grill along with a great herb garden. And it's amazing. The taste is different when you're using fresh herbs, and it just makes cooking fun. So if you've got questions about anything that we talked about today or anything else going on in your landscape or garden, please call the hotline. That number is 609-685-1880. Thank you for listening. Be back the same time next week, and we will see you in the garden.